online. In our last lesson, we discussed how to find solutions to equations and using this idea around balancing. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Then, once we found a solution, we use substitution to put it in for the letter and to see if our two sides were balanced. In our lesson for today, we are going to continue our work around balancing, and we are going to look at solving equations when they either have multiplication with them or when they have division. So our essential question for today has to do with our learning target, is how do we solve equations using multiplication and division? So how do we solve simple equations using multiplication? Multiplication. There we go. Or division. So how in the world do we do this? How do we solve simple equations using multiplication or division? All right, our very first example that we are going to look at is one that uses multiplication. So we have 6D equals 24. So 6D equals 24. And I'm sorry that sounded like 6D as in 60, but that's not what I meant. Okay, so our job is to find the opposite operation. So right now, this is multiplying. To undo multiplication, we have to use division. So we're going to divide by 6, and what we do to one side, we're going to do to the other. Divide by 6. Now, the reason why this cancels out, in our last lesson, everything was a 0, and that's how you isolated the variable. In order to isolate the variable in these equations, we're actually doing 6 over 6, or 6 divided by 6, which does equal 1. Well, just 1D is going to equal 4. So we're going to drop down our D, and D equals 4. So what we're going to do now is we are going to check our solutions to this equation and see, did we actually do this correctly? So if I now take what I found as the solution, D equaling 4, and I pop it right back in here for D, do I get 24? 6 times 4, and I need it to equal 24. That is what I'm checking for my solution here. Well, I know that 6 times 5 is 30. So if I subtract 6 from 30, I do get 24. And 6 times 4 is 24, and this side is 24. So yes, D equals 4 is my solution. So 4 is the solution. Okay, let's do another multiplication one. And this time we're going to do one that has a like a negative in it. So we're going to look at some integers here. Okay, so we're going to say in this next one, we are going to say that 18 equals negative 3y. So 18 equals negative 3y. So again, we need to isolate our variable in order to figure out what it actually equals. So to undo this, we're going to perform the opposite operation. So instead of multiplying 3 times y, we're actually going to divide, and we're going to get rid of it. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is going to give me 1, because we know a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So here I get my 1y, and if I divide by negative 3 here, I also need to divide by negative 3 over here. So 18 divided into 3 equal groups of negative numbers should give me negative 6. Because 6 times 3 is 18, and a negative times a negative gives me a positive. So my solution to this equation, I'm saying, is negative 6. And to check it, to check our solution, we are going to, I'm going to put it over here so that way we have room to do some try-its down here. So we're going to say that negative 6 goes in for y, so I'm just going to reset this up as 18 equals negative 3 times a negative 6. Well, I know that negative 3 times negative 6, negative times negative is a positive, and so I get 18 is equal to 18. So it checks out, and negative 6 is the solution. All right, it is your turn to do a try-it with multiplication and division. So here is our try-its for today. Your first try-it is, trait number 1, says negative 2a is equal to negative 24. That is your first try-it. And your second try-it for today is, I don't like that problem. That problem is mean. Sometimes they give you some really mean ones, and I don't like them. Let's do this one. Negative 32 equals negative 4p. Negative 4p. Okay, go ahead and hit pause right now so that you don't hear me solving these two try-its. And then when you are all finished, hop on back and hit play. And then we will go through the try-its together. All right, so hit pause. All right, so balance line. It's my first step. It's multiplication right now. So to undo multiplication, I have to do division. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 and divide by negative 2. This gives me 1 letter A all by itself. And I know now that A equals, negative 24 divided by a negative 2. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So I know that 24 divided by 2 is 12. And I have 2 negatives, so I'm going to have a positive here. All right, let's check our solution, because right now I am telling you that A equals 12 is the solution. We're going to find out if that's the solution or not. So I'm going to take 12 and plug it in for A. So negative 2 times a positive 12 equals negative 24. And negative 2 times 12 does give me negative 24, because a negative times a positive gives me a negative, and it equals negative 24. So yay, we did that one correctly. Okay, let's check on this one over here. I have to use a different pen though. Well, maybe I'll just make this one work. Okay, it's almost out of ink. All right, so I am going to divide by -4 and divide by -4 over here. And that gives me one letter P. And I know that 32 divided by 4 is 8. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So P equals 8. Let's plug it in and see if I did it correctly. So is this my solution? We're going to check it right now. I want it to equal 8. So -4 times a positive 8. 8 and 4 is 32. And I have one negative sign, so a negative times a positive is indeed a negative. And this equals, what did I do? Oh yeah, -32. That should be 32. Sorry, -32. Why do I always do that? I get my numbers mixed up. So P equals 8 is the solution. 8 is the solution to the equation. Over here, 12 was the solution. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn my page now. So hit pause if you need to keep looking at the work. Okay, and now I'm going to turn the page because now we're going to answer the second part of our essential question, which has to do with multiplication. So far we just did division. We divided to undo multiplication. Now we are going to start with a division problem, and we have to use the reciprocal in order to solve it. All right, are we ready? Let's do this. All right. Oh, well, that one is like almost the exact same. That's no fun. Okay, here we go. So on our first one that we are going to look at, example A. So example A says that we have a problem. I just really don't like that problem, you guys. Here, I'm going to pause and I'm going to find one that I like. Hold, please. I am back and I found a problem. So the first problem is C over 8 equals -7. Our job here is to first look and see what operation are we doing. Well, we have a division problem because anytime that we have a fraction, it is a division problem. So C over 8, it's a fraction. This line means division. So that line means division. So to undo division, we have to multiply. This is the same thing as saying one letter C over 8. So we are going to rewrite this problem so that it's 1 over 8. So I'm going to just draw a little squiggle line here so we can see 1 over 8 C equals -7. Oh my gosh, now look at that. You have a multiplication problem. To undo multiplication, we use division, just like we did on this page here. What's super awesome about fractions is that they're automatically turned into a multiplication sign as soon as you throw it next to the C. Well, to undo multiplication, we have to divide, right? So we're going to divide by 1/8, right? To get rid of it. Well, when you have a fraction divided by a fraction, you actually have to use the reciprocal, right? To get one and get rid of it, because our whole job here is that we want to get rid of the bottom one. So instead, what we're going to do is we are going to keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep, change, flip so that we can actually multiply again. So instead now it's 8 over 1 times 1 over 8 C. That's how you do it. Okay, so now we're getting rid of these because 8 times 1 is 1 and 1 times 8 is 1. 1 over 1 is just 1C. And all the while, this poor -7 is stuck to the side and nothing's been done to -7 yet. Okay, so let's recap. What in the world did we just do? Well, first step, we wrote it as the fraction that it really was. So in order to undo division, we had to multiply by 8. Well, if you're multiplying by 8, you're really multiplying by 8 over 1 because this is 1C over 8. So you've just rewritten the problem to make a reciprocal. Well, a reciprocal gives us 1 whole. Well, if I multiplied by 8 over 1, I have to multiply by 8 over 1 on this side. Oh my goodness, so much work. C equals, now let's check it out. What is -7 times 8? Well, -7, I know that 7 times 8 is 56. And the negative sign, because it's a negative times a positive, I'm going to end up with a -56. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check this. And we're going to check our solution by taking C equals -56. And where I had my C originally, I'm going to put -56 in right there. So now really what this says is -56 divided by 8 equals -7. We want to know, is this true? Is -56 the correct solution for this problem? So we know 56 divided by 8 is 7, and it's one negative sign, and -7 does equal -7. So -56 is the solution. Okay, we're going to do one more of this keep, change, flip business, and then I am going to give you a try it. That is supposed to be a B. Oh my goodness. Okay, ready? So, letter B. Letter rip. Okay, this one is just a smidge different because it's already going to have a fraction for you. So this one says -6 equals 3 over 2Z. All right. So now we're going to use, again, this one is multiplying. So in order to undo multiplication, we would need to divide. So I'm going to draw my balance line. And I'm going to take 3 over 2 and divide the fraction by the fraction. Well, if I divide 3 over 2 divided by 3 over 2, I need to keep, change, flip, right? So I'm going to flip that one over. All right. So now I have 3 over 2 times 2 over 3Z. This Z is just going to keep coming with us because 6 over 6 is 1Z. So now I have Z equals, well, what in the world did I multiply by? Well, I started with 3 over 2. I actually multiplied by 2 over 3. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 3 times -6. Well, I know a whole number. Just slap a 1 underneath it. Now I have a fraction. Okay, ready for our next part? I have 2 times negative 6. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. 3 times 1 is 3. Well, negative 12 divided by 3, that is going to give me 4 with a negative sign. Because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Let's check and see, is my solution correct? And I'm going to check that by putting this negative 4 in for z. So we're going to come over here and we're going to check it. Negative 6 equals 3 over 2 times negative 4 over 1. All right. And I used multiplication because originally this was a multiplication problem. The reason why we had to divide was to undo multiplication. So really in this whole lesson, all you're using is multiplication, but you just have to find the right fraction to use. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, and negative 12 divided by 2 equals negative 6, and negative 6 is equal to negative 6, so it checks out. All right, let's go to some try-its because look at that, we are running out of time. All right, let's do a try-it. Let's just do one try-it. All right, this try-it says 3/8 times h equals negative 9. Okay, go ahead and hit pause so that you don't hear me solving your try-it, and then come back when you are done. Alrighty. So to undo multiplication, we have to divide. So this is really 3/8 divided by 3/8. But we know that when you do fraction divided by a fraction, we have to use keep, change, flip. So we're going to do 3/8 times 8/3, and we get 24 over 24. So that goes away, and our h is right here. There we go. Now, over here, I then need to do negative 9 times 8 over 3. Okay, here's where it's going to get a little bit crazy, right? So we don't do keep, change, flip again because we are multiplying. We already divided over here to figure out what we are multiplying by, so we just take this same number right here and we stick it right over there. So our answer is going to be 9 times 8. So 9 times 9 is 81. Minus 9 gives us 72 divided by 3. Well, negative 72 divided by 3 is going to give us, I believe, 24. So h equals negative 24. Okay, how can we check to make sure that we did our math correctly? I'm sorry that this is so crazy in my notes today. We're going to take h equals negative 24, and we're going to put it in the original h. So we're going to say 3/8 times negative 24 over 1, and we're going to want it to equal negative 9. Let's just keep checking it. All right, so negative 24. So 4 times 3 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 72. 8, and we know that 72 over 8 equals 9, and it's a negative, and that is a negative. So yes, negative 24 is our solution. All right, manta rays, go ahead and solve or answer your essential question from the last page. Tell me, how do we solve simple? Those second ones were not simple. However, it's just because they had one extra step. Simple equations using multiplication or division. Go ahead and put your answer in here. How do we, or somewhere on your paper. I don't know where you would have room. But as always, manta rays, I hope that you have an awesome day. Thank you for your hard work. Head on to the Google Meet if you need extra support, or you may go and do your practice work. And make it a great day the manta ray way.